Recording.
There we go. Okay, everybody, welcome tonight to the regular council meeting for September 11th. Yeah, September 11th. Sorry, I'm a little flustered tonight. I got a lot going on. August 11th. You weren't helping me much nodding yes in September. Yeah, and that's your council and your mayor. There you go. So, okay, here we go. September 11th, I call the meeting to order at this August 11th. All right, we're going to start all over. Welcome, everybody, to the August 11th council meeting, regular council meeting. At this time, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do I hear an adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Been moving second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Sounds like it passes unanimously. We'll start some proclamations. I'll be honest, this is the biggest crowd we've had since COVID started in this room. So it's awesome to see that. Thank you for all coming. I know why most of you are here, but it is really nice to see people again. So with that, I think we'll do our first proclamation honoring Lee Freeman for the service to the city of Lake Forest Park. Chief.
Thank you. I'm excited too, because we've had several officers or staff members leave in the last couple of years, and it's always been virtual. And now we get to actually do it in person with folks here. So I am very, very honored to say, honoring and thanking Lee Freeman, City of Lake Forest Park Records Specialist. Whereas on August 31st, 2022, after spending more than 30 years serving the citizens of Lake Forest Park, Record Specialist Lee Freeman will retire. And whereas Record Specialist Freeman began her work in policing for the Lake Forest Park Police Department on March 6th of 1992 as a dispatcher. And whereas Record Specialist Freeman became a full-time police records clerk in January of 2001 and dedicated her whole career to assist citizens, police officers, and city employees. And whereas Record Specialist Freeman assisted a total of 6 chiefs of police, 4 mayors, and an abundant number of city council members. And whereas Record Specialist Freeman helped to create the first Lake Forest Park Police Guild and assisted with the implementation of numerous police record systems. And whereas during her tenure with the city, Record Specialist Freeman was known for being knowledgeable, competent, professional, conscientious, dependable. And whereas throughout her career, Record Specialist Freeman constantly demonstrated that her priority was always to the success of our organization. Now, therefore, the mayor and city council and the city of Lake Forest Park do hereby thank and congratulate Lee Freeman, City of Lake Forest Park Record Specialist, on her retirement from public service. And we wish her all the best for a very happy retirement. Signed this 11th day of August 2022 by Jeff Johnson, Mayor. So, thank you.
Not as long as I'm mayor, she has to get up and say something, right?
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
Something that was started a little while ago is a process that we do for people that have been with our department over 15 years. It's kind of a banner unveiling. We have 3 banners currently in the police department. Eventually, I'd like to get the past members up. So Lee is going to be presented with a banner. This process is kind of sports driven. I'm a sports guy. I like team sports as opposed to individual sports. And I like when you go to a sporting event and you see all the retired banners up in the rafters. And what I wanted to do is have that ability for new people that come into our building. They see the rafters, and people that are still around can give stories about who is this officer, who is this record specialist, who are people that work here. And you get those stories going. So tonight, Lee, come on up here, please. This is the banner for Lee, and it's been signed by everybody in our police department. And Robert 22 is a designator that everybody has to spin a sign when you get hired on. And this is these banners. So everybody has signed that, and that is for her. And then what I need her to do is she signs a banner for the police department. So if you can just sign right here, and this will go up so that everybody can see. Okay, and stay here. We also have a plaque from the city and the police department. So Lake Forest Park Police Department, Record Specialist Lee Freeman, in recognition of over 30 years of service as a dispatcher and record specialist for the city of Lake Forest Park, for your loyalty and professional service to the police department and the citizens of Lake Forest Park. We thank you. There you go.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you. Right here. Now, our president of our Lake Forest Park Police Guild that Lee had started, Jerome Walker, Officer Walker, if you can come on up here, they have a presentation from the guild.
There's a card for you. So for all your dedication and hard work for us, you've been always a valued member of our department, you know, always getting us into shape when we're messing up. We got you this cutting board for your retirement.
Oh,
For you. Thank you
nice.
very much.
Thank you. That'll get not used.
And then one last thing is Lieutenant Lehman has been with the city almost 30 years as well. She's known Lee this entire time. And I thought it'd be special for, as a reserve, and a dispatcher.
Yeah, I trained her.
So I thought it'd be special if she came up and said a few words.
So I just wanted to say, I started in '94 with Lee, and I was immediately told she was mean and to just do whatever she said. So shortly after that, I got hired as a full-time dispatcher. She trained me to do that, but she also made me a better officer and a better person. And she is the most consistent, reliable employee that I have ever worked with or known. And the amount of knowledge we're gonna lose when she leaves is irreplaceable. But everyone needs to know that she is one of the best people that ever gave all their time to Lake Forest Park. She gave all her heart and soul. She never held back, and she was always there for us. Anybody who needed her, she stepped up and took care of. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have her supporting me every step of the way.
I think Sergeant Parrish wanted to say something. Sorry, Council.
Good evening, council members, mayor. I think it's important because like Lieutenant Lehman, I've known Lee since 1995, January 11th. Matter of fact, was my first day with the city of Lake Forest Park, in which Lee pretty much told me, this is my dispatch center, don't touch anything. But Lee has been immensely valuable to me as both a police officer and a sergeant. And I'm going to introduce everyone here. This is my daughter, Beth. Lee knew her before she was even born. This is how much of an impact she has had. And this is the kind of long-term relationships that your people have with you and your citizens. And I hope you all understand that, because there's a lot of things to this department that would not be running successfully if it wasn't for this lady standing right here. So to go along with the board on behalf of me and my family, you gotta have at least something to drink that goes with.
I have to pick
The board.
fancy.
Oh, thank you.
Lee.
Thank
Thank
you.
Now, Lee wouldn't have shown up if
Nope.
if I gave her a heads up that this was happening in this manner. She doesn't want to have any spotlight on her. But if you do want to say something, feel free. No? All right.
I'm not a public speaker. Everybody knows that. but
Mayor.
It's been an honor to work for the city for this long. Thank you.
So Mayor. on you, Mayor, if you want to say anything
No, I-
or move on to the proclamations.
No, I just kind of laugh because I'm trying to figure out how many times I've been pulled over in Lake Forest Park since you started. And that's quite a list, unfortunately, but thankfully it was never by you, but I'm sure you were getting the calls about me. So with that, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We're going to miss you. I'm glad you got the best gift for the last. So
I know, right?
maybe don't do it all at once. That's what you guys always tell me. So again, thank you very much. And I'm just going to throw out, thank you guys all who are here. Thank you for everything you do. It's important. You guys are a big family and part of our family, and we're going to miss you and enjoy yourself. What are you going to, I can ask you this, what are you going to do? Is that your husband back there? Where'd he go?
Yeah, he's.
Oh, there's right there.
Yeah, he thinks he's doing a honey-do list. Yeah, we'll see how all that works for him.
She's like, no, I'm on sick leave for 30 days. So, but anyway, I want to thank the Lake Forest Park too, that she's had a wonderful time here. I get to hear about it all the time. She loves working here. She's had, you guys have been special to her the whole time I've ever known her. And thank you guys very much, because you guys gave her the career that she really, really loved. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for sharing her with us. So, but on the other side, good luck in your future, by the way. From what I hear about her, you're going to need it. So.
I will say that she's got a heart of gold, because we're having a medical issue with one of our employee staff members, and she's going to stick around for a couple months to help us out. So
you.
that's just the heart that she's got. But she's definitely wanting to get out of here. It's retirement time.
Yeah, I can see that.
I love you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Everybody.
With that, we're going to do a couple more proclamations. And after that, I know that the police department, or they can leave now. They got a lot going on. And I'm going to, after this, also excuse the chief because he is getting up at 3 a.m. for something he has to do. So with that, we'll thank you guys very much, and we'll move on to our next proclamation. September 2022 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. I've asked Councilmember French to read this for us.
It'd be my honor, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much. September 2022, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas childhood cancer is the leading cause of death by disease in children, excuse me. And whereas 1 in 285 children in the United States will be diagnosed by their 20th birthday. And whereas there are 43 children per day, or 15,780 children annually that are diagnosed with cancer, as well as approximately 40,000 children on active treatment at any given time. And whereas the average age of diagnosis is 6 years old, compared to 66 years for adults diagnosis, and 80% of childhood cancer patients are diagnosed late and with metastatic disease. And whereas on average, there has been a 0.6% increase in incidence per year since the mid-1970s, resulting in an overall incidence increase of 24% over the last 40 years. And whereas 2/3 of childhood cancer patients will have chronic health conditions as a result of the treatment toxicity, with 1/4 being classified as severe to life-threatening. And whereas approximately 1/2 of childhood cancer families rate the associated financial toxicity due to out-of-pocket expenses as considerable to severe. And whereas in the last 20 years, only 4 new drugs have been approved by the FDA to specifically treat childhood cancer. And whereas researchers and healthcare professionals work diligently, dedicating their expertise to treat and cure children with cancer. And whereas too many children are affected by this deadly disease, and more must be done to raise awareness and find a cure. Now, therefore, the mayor and the city council of the city of Lake Forest Park do hereby proclaim September 2022 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Lake Forest Park, and urge all residents to join in encouraging young people fighting cancer, honoring young people who have lost their lives to childhood cancer, and expressing gratitude to the doctors and nurses who provide special care to patients and families affected by childhood cancer. Signed this 11th day of August, 2022.
Thank you very much, Tom. With that, we're going to move on to a proclamation on National Recovery Month. I've asked Councilmember Riddle to read this.
Thank you. Proclamation September 2022, National Recovery Month. Whereas behavioral health is an essential part of one's overall health and wellness, and whereas prevention of mental and substance use disorders works, treatment is effective, and recovery is possible. And whereas recovery is a process and that people recover in our local area and around the nation. And whereas preventing and overcoming mental and substance use disorders is essential to achieving healthy lifestyles, both physically and emotionally. And whereas an estimated 400,000 people in King County are affected by these conditions. And whereas we must encourage relatives and friends of people with mental and/or substance use disorders to implement preventive measures, recognize the signs of a problem, and guide those in need to appropriate treatment and recovery support services. And whereas we recognize 4 dimensions of recovery from mental health and substance use disorders: health, home, purpose, and community. And whereas to help more people achieve and sustain recovery, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, King County, and Lake Forest Park invite all residents to participate in National Recovery Month. And now therefore, the Mayor and City Council of the City of Lake Forest Park do hereby proclaim September 2022 as National Recovery Month in the City of Lake Forest Park, and urge all residents to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies to increase public understanding of addiction as an illness. In witness thereof, signed this 11th day of August, 2022.
Thank you, Councilmember. Unfortunately, we've all probably been affected by one or both of these. So let's keep all those people in our thoughts, because I can't imagine, well, neither of them are good things to have go through. So thank you very much, council members. With that, we're going to move on to our presentations. The first one up is the King County Regional Homeless Authority. And I must warn you, I am not the best with names, but I'm going to try to do my best tonight. I'm going to introduce Alexis Mercedes Rink. Is that correct?
That is correct. Hello.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Do you mind if I share my screen and get
Oh, go
started?
ahead. Yep.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Wonderful. I have to ask the obligatory, can you see my screen? Great. Thank you. Good evening, Council. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. For the record, my name is Alexis Mercedes Rink, and I'm the Director of Sub-Regional Planning with the King County Regional Homelessness Authority. I'm here tonight to provide an overview of our work as the authority and orient you all to the latest and greatest in data for North King County regarding homelessness, and also put forward for initial discussion a proposal about how we can strengthen our partnership to better support our unhoused neighbors in North King County. But a little bit about our agency. Our core mission is to significantly decrease the incidence of homelessness throughout King County, really leaning into the principles of equity and social justice. Our theory of change is that if we create a homelessness response system that centers the voices of those with lived experience, then we will be able to focus on responding to the needs of and eliminating inequities for all in order to end homelessness for all. We were founded through an interlocal agreement between King County and the City of Seattle. And within that agreement, our designated role, scope, and purpose is to really lead unified planning, coordination, funding, and services for folks experiencing homelessness countywide. We also have oversight on policy and contract management and performance management. We are the continuum of care lead agency as required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. So we receive federal funding. These were responsibilities that were formerly housed within All Home, one of our predecessors. We have absorbed the responsibilities of All Home. We also were charged with the creation of a new ombuds office, really to create more accountability in our system, particularly for folks who are utilizing services. And we also were charged with establishing clear metrics and milestones for measuring success and making sure that we're accountable and transparent in our work. I love this graphic because it very clearly lays out what still lies within the City of Seattle and King County government and what came over to us. Really on the housing capital and development side, those are responsibilities and work that still lie with City of Seattle and King County. However, we as the King County Regional Homelessness Authority oversee and work with all continuum of care funded programs, shelter, diversion, rapid rehousing, the coordinated entry system, which manages permanent housing placements, a system called Homelessness Management Information System, which is our data system, also known as HMIS. We also play a role in overseeing outreach contracts and coordinating around outreach. This is still some responsibility held by City of Seattle with the HOPE team. But really, encampment cleans and behavioral health response are not things that we have full authorizing agency over, but recognize that it's related to our work. To ground us in a little bit of the North King County data I have to share with you all tonight, we have in North King County, between units and beds, just shy of about 300 beds serving the North King County subregion. And to define the North King County subregion, that's inclusive of Lake Forest Park, Shoreline, Bothell, Kenmore, and Woodinville. The difference between units and beds is primarily having to do with units are usually referred to like room. This is particularly relevant for family providers, given that for families, they will have a room that will have many beds in it, but a family may have a smaller unit than how many beds are in that particular room. So that's just a major thing to point out between the difference between units and beds. So that's why you see that discrepancy. And this chart lays out the number of units and beds we have for emergency shelter. That's inclusive of the Oaks Enhanced Shelter Program. Permanent supportive housing and permanent housing with supports. That's the middle area. And then transitional housing on the far right. Taking us into a little bit about bed inventory and also by service providers. We have 9 service providers serving North King County. And I want to take a moment to highlight a win in our work, which isn't always often, but as you can see, the Camp Unity East Side bar is non-existent. We don't have any beds currently listed because the sanctioned encampment has seen a certain amount of success with the new emergency housing voucher program made available through the American Rescue Plan. We actually have the highest lease-up rates and success rate in housing folks in the country. We are leading the national average, actually coming up on 60% with lease-up. So we are housing folks, and we've housed over 800 households now across the county using the program. So I want to highlight that success and also uplift that now that those vouchers were made available for folks who are at Camp Unity side, and a number of folks have been housed through that. And so just to run through our other service providers, we have Friends of Youth, Hope Link, we have King County Housing Authority has a presence in North King County as well, in addition to Mary's Place, Compass Housing Alliance, Vision House, Lake City Partners. And then also to uplift, we have another sanctioned encampment site called Camp United We Stand. And so just want to uplift that. They have very similar names, but they are different sites, but they're both sanctioned encampments. I want to also uplift a data point that we have in the Homelessness Management Information System, which is known as City of Last Residence. And this is where folks who enroll in services or touch the formal homelessness response system will indicate where their city of last residence was. And according to our data poll from May data in HMIS, it was indicated that 424 folks enrolled in HMIS marked a North King County city as their last place of residence. Those folks, 9 of those were enrolled in a permanent housing program. And it should also, again, be uplifted in North King County. We have 143 emergency shelter beds serving the area. So I want to uplift a couple of caveats about this 400 figure because there's a bit of nuance to it. HMIS is only folks who are currently accessing publicly funded services, which can include shelter, day centers, and those who have been touched by outreach providers. And we know we have limited outreach serving North King County right now, which means it's less likely that folks would be interacting with outreach and therefore less likely to be captured by this number. Also, not everyone answers this question upon intake. And additionally, it doesn't necessarily mean that this 400 figure of folks are folks who are actively accessing resources in North King County. It doesn't always indicate where exactly they are accessing the resource from. So I share all this to emphasize that we have reason to believe that this number is likely higher when it comes to folks who could be experiencing homelessness in North King County. So really to be treated as a floor rather than a ceiling when we're talking about homelessness. So with all of this data and grounding in mind, I'd like to lean into another topic that's bringing me here tonight, which is really centered on how we're hopeful to strengthen our partnership in addressing the issue of homelessness. And so I want to provide the context that our idea for how we can strengthen partnership is not necessarily a novel idea. We've looked to the ways that we've seen cities already partnering with one another through sub-regional collaborations, such as a regional coalition for housing, which is been a fantastic partnership serving the East Side and some North King County cities as well. And then the South King County Homelessness and Housing Partners, which is a newer ILA formed coalition of cities which have pooled their funds to create more opportunities to build affordable housing. And also to uplift knowing that North King County cities have been partnering around the Radar program and in many other ways. We're really looking at what are ways that we can work together in partnership to lean into this type of approach, a sub-regional approach. And so for my work, I often am interfacing with the North King County Coalition on Homelessness. This originally began as a task force to identify a space to place an enhanced shelter to serve the North King County subregion. Since they were successful in establishing the Oaks shelter, it has transformed into more of a coalition space with the core mission and purpose to work together across sectors and jurisdictions in North King County to support policies and community-based efforts to provide services and housing options for folks in North King County experiencing homelessness or at risk of experiencing homelessness. We have representatives from each one of the 5 North King County cities, and I want to recognize Councilmember Riddle being the Lake Forest Park representative who is present on that body. But there are also a number of non-government partners who are present there as well, from our faith-based partners to our public health partners, behavioral health partners, and other advocacy partners. And so in our work with this body, starting in January and February, I started meeting regularly with city staff from North King County cities to discuss what are good avenues for partnership as we look at really defragmenting our homelessness response system. And through those conversations, that's where we came up with this idea that I'm about to propose and walk through. In March, we presented this proposal to North King County Coalition on Homelessness, this concept of what would it mean to pool funding and homelessness response into an ILA and amongst the North King County cities and the Regional Homelessness Authority. So we brought that forward to the body in March and received feedback and guidance from the coalition, and staff spent time throughout April and May to review and incorporate that feedback to really develop what we then brought back in June, which was a full proposal of what a North King County ILA could look like. In June, we got unanimous affirmation from the coalition to move forward and start bringing this before councils for further discussion. And so you all are the 3rd council to receive this presentation. Kenmore and Woodinville went first, and then I will be speaking with Shoreline next week and Bothell in early September. And so what we're bringing forward to you all tonight is this core idea that we believe that pooled funding on homelessness response through the King County Regional Homelessness Authority will improve transparency, efficiency, and accountability to further ensure that we are actually building a more effective response towards homelessness. So really coming here tonight to begin this conversation, we know that many cities are granting funding to local service providers, many of which are already contracted with the King County Regional Homelessness Authority. We all want to be working towards the same outcomes and be aligned in the same goals. And more than that, we want to be a resource to jurisdictions in support of their own homelessness response. And overall, we believe that through a pooled approach, we'll be able to facilitate and create a bit more efficiency in our system and further work on being aligned. And so I'm going to talk through these 3 areas of transparency, efficiency, and accountability, and then I want to get into the mechanics of exactly how this would work. So to just go into transparency, we would be looking at, if cities choose to pool funding with us, we would be looking at an annual report to city councils, which would include metrics such as this HMIS origin city data, looking at North King County subregional outcomes and activities, progress on funding, administration, and distribution of that funding. And of course, always making ourselves available to provide additional presentations and reports. Always a pleasure being before councils and being able to talk about the work that we're doing. Moving into efficiency, we're hopeful that actually having a pooled approach will create some eased administrative burden for providers and funders. It's one less system for providers to navigate, especially since our current system right now, we have providers needing to and applying through multiple different channels with local jurisdictions to receive funding. So we're hoping for streamlined funding and also streamlined contract management. Again, to reiterate, most of the, if not all of the North King County service providers providing homelessness services already hold a contract with the King County Regional Homelessness Authority, and we already have a relationship and are working with them on technical assistance and supporting them as in their service delivery. And in the last area, we're looking also then towards accountability. With an interlocal agreement with the North King County cities and with the authority, we're really working towards how this could define our relationship between us as an agency and the partnering cities. Again, reporting on funding distribution, and we'll also be able to show improved metrics on the North King County subregion. With much greater confidence, we'll be able to share what the impact of all the public funding was for the North King County subregion. And that's a level of alignment and clarity that this region has not fully experienced yet. And so hopeful that we can serve as a resource in that way. And so the mechanics, what does this look like? So we would be looking at funding contribution. We have a number of jurisdictions in North King County that are currently providing funding to their local service providers to fund shelter, outreach, diversion services. And so for cities that are providing funding for the upcoming biennium budget cycle, we would be looking at that funding amount staying the same or the funding amount whatever they allocate in their upcoming budget would stay the same. And the following budget cycle, 2025-2026, we would be seeking an allocation earmark and would be in conversation about what, and would ensure that all of the essentially funding that would be granted would be in alignment with North King County planning activities. But understanding that also we have a couple of cities within North King County that have not granted money specifically or funding specifically to homelessness service response, but other types of human services. We are seeking and recommending for cities to contribute based on a per capita average amount across North King County cities. So this is about $1.20 per capita. So just to clarify, we looked at currently contributing cities, so cities that are providing specifically dollars in funding for homelessness response, and took a per capita of the look at that and found the average was $1.20 across those cities. And so based on that per capita amount, average per capita, a contribution for Lake Forest Park would look like $15,000 in the upcoming biennium. And so when we also then look at what do we do with these dollars, we're looking at maintaining all funding that is pooled in North King County to serve North King County folks. We want to ensure that level of service is not only maintained, but even expanded for residents in North King County. So again, looking at local authority for a 2023-2024 funding year, cities that are making funding awards, those would be maintained in an amount, but a contract would shift over to us where we would essentially just do the administrative function of administering them and supporting the providers. And then further, even the nittier details, we are looking at a 4-year agreement covering the next 2 biennium with a noted 90-day written notice provided to other parties of the agreement to withdraw. So in many ways, I'm coming here tonight and hoping that this will be the start of a conversation. I'm eager to hear any and all feedback about this proposal and also answer questions about the authority. And again, thank you for your time and attention. And with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and happy to take questions.
Have any questions, Council? Yes, Councilmember Cassover.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Alexis, for your presentation. I just want to be clear on who the providers are in North King County that would benefit from the funding that this ILA could produce. I mean, the Oaks is definitely one of those, but who are the other organizations? And I just want to understand, you know, who we are already funding and how that fits into what we already do.
Absolutely. Fantastic question. Thank you. The other providers that are currently serving North King County include Friends of Youth through their transitional housing program, HopeLink with their family shelter, Mary's Place, also with their family shelter. We also have Compass Housing Alliance, Vision House, Lake City Partners, and then there is also Camp United We Stand, the sanctioning camp.
Okay, thank you. So it's the same list that we saw in the presentation. I just want to be clear on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody? Yes, Councilmember Goldman.
Yes, thanks for your presentation. As I understand it, so the North King County does not include Seattle, but both Lake Forest Park and Shoreline border Seattle. So I'm just curious, what sort of liaisons or how do you work together with your sibling organizations serving Seattle?
Fantastic question. Yes, so we do contract and oversee all of Seattle services. So essentially when we were established, we absorbed all the responsibilities from City of Seattle in their homelessness response. So we are overseeing much of Seattle's homelessness response right now. So we are, we are the public funder for all of those shelter programs. So the many organizations serving City of Seattle, from Compass Housing Alliance, DESC, can I list them all out? Catholic Community Services and so on.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lebo.
Thank you, Alexis, for the presentation. I'm looking at the slide that has the purpose and structure. And what I'm understanding is the money for the ILA that Lake Forest Park would provide, would that actually go to the agencies, or is this really for oversight and management of the contracts that you administer from other funding sources?
Fantastic question. We are looking at directly administering that. So we are not taking any type of admin dollars. We are looking at just providing the money directly to agencies.
So the money that Lake Forest Park, if we join this program, the money that we provide would go to the programs, not for the contract management oversight.
Correct.
The other question is, one of the things I see is bullet pointed, it is oversight on policy, contract management, performance management. How do you do performance evaluations of the providers that you fund? And what do those metrics look like to assess whether the outcomes are in fact meeting what you've defined either in their contracts or you've defined as a measure of success? So the basic question is, should we continue to fund those programs because they're being successful, or do you evaluate the programs to say they need correction, or in fact, we no longer wish to fund those programs or those groups because the outcomes are not being successful for the dollars that you're spending?
Fantastic questions. So I'd like to first pluck off this question by starting with what contract oversight looks like for our team. So we have two contract oversight teams that are known as our program system performance teams. They hold different portfolios of work, and there are people directly assigned to overseeing specific contracts. And so what contract oversight will look like will often look like visiting in person and seeing things and talking to folks. So going and visiting facilities and making assessments to ensure that there is that things are up to standard, that plumbing is working, that facilities are being maintained as contractually required. But then further looking at the information that providers had been inputting into HMIS. So what contracted providers need to input client information into HMIS. Our team then pulls a report and we'll sit down with a provider and walk through what we're seeing. And some of the things that we'll see include a breakdown of by race of utilization. We'll look at average length of stay, exits to permanent housing, and also exits like out of the program, and really start with the conversation from that point. We try and take a number of measures to also have a conversation about the organizational health writ large, because we know there's a number of providers in need of technical assistance and support sometimes to do the work. And we also know that our industry has been facing intense staffing shortages as well. And so there's a lot of frontline staffing shortages, which is impeded an ability for sometimes an organization to carry out the work when the case management ratio has become so high. And so it's quite complex in that way, but we do have staff that sit and have these conversations with service providers to really get to the bottom of, are we looking at some type of programmatic model that's not working, or are we looking at an organization that's not, is in need of more support, both either on increased staff side or increased like training and technical capacity side to carry out the work, and making a more holistic judgment based on that. Did that fully answer your question?
Yeah, so part of it is, at some point, do you say this program's not working and so it no longer should be funded? Because either the administrative costs are too high in relationship to the outcomes, or that the volume of outcomes for the dollars that you're funding the program just aren't realistic. Not every program is going to have a similar outcome, and some programs are more successful than others. So is there a process of saying, you know, this program itself is not as successful as another one, so we should be diverting dollars to another program because this one's not?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we are having those conversations, and that's part of the reason we try and actually keep a documented, well-kept record of our conversations when we do sit with providers to best understand the history of a program and be able to make those determinations. And so we are consistently seeking and pulling that information, because especially as we're coming up onto some program redesign things, we are going to be actually pivoting potentially our portfolio towards, you know, what kind of programs are we going to fund based on all of this information we've collected.
So do you have something like the health department, which says that this is excellent, good, satisfactory, or needs improvement, as a way to sort of provide a dashboard that says these programs are functioning in a way that they should, or in fact, these programs should need additional help or some other measure to improve the outcomes, or just say, you know, this isn't working?
You know, I would love to have something as flashy and cool as those signs that they have in front of restaurants. I wish it was as easy as that, and gosh, I would love to work on something like that. But what I think I would point you to for more information is the dashboards that we do have on our website that actually do look at performance-wise. What are our rates for exits to permanent housing? What are kind of the outcomes that we are seeing in our system? We have something like 8 dashboards on our website that are quite robust, and you're able to play in some of that outcome and performance information there.
But is it aggregated, or is it does it represent the programs that are being funded individually, so that you can see that that program is more successful than another?
Being able to filter and look specifically and say CCS this program, we don't have that functionality currently, and that's something. But we do keep record internally, of course, about what we're seeing in programs. But it's not something that's publicly accessible on the website dashboard specifically.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Councilmember Bodie.
Thank you very much for a very informative presentation. I guess I would echo Councilmember Lebo's suggestion that you do make the data available, or his implicit suggestion that you do make the data available for individual programs, so that there's transparency and accountability, as you described, not just at the broad programmatic level, but also at the individually funded program level. And I understand that you're in startup mode, so you might want to wait to do that, but I think sometime soon, very soon, that information should be provided. I have a follow-up question, which is somewhat related. I appreciate, as a city with very limited resources, that the money raised within North King County would be used for services within North King County, and that that the overall Homelessness Authority would not be charging an administrative fee. So those are very positive points. My question is, with some of these organizations which run cross-jurisdictional programs, how will you assure that the money raised in North King County will stay for services within King County, when some of these program providers don't just serve North King County? So how will that work? And just again, thank you for that commitment. I just want to make sure you have a means to assure it.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. Thank you. So we would be looking specifically at beyond just like the service provider level, and also looking at the programmatic level. What are the programs that are currently serving and located within North King County specifically? So understanding, we know Compass Housing Alliance has a much broader reach. We'd be looking specifically at the Compass Housing Alliance program that is in Shoreline, which it's a voucher program. We would be looking at the Friends of Youth program that's located in Bothell. We would be looking at the Mary's Place contract and program that's located in Kenmore. So we would be looking at the programmatic level at the place-based services.
So the funds would be dedicated geographically
Correct.
and not at the level of the overall program. And then they would have to document to you, back to you, the services provided in North King County. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Riddle.
Thank you. With the hope and expectation that this type of structure will eventually lessen the need for these services, and homelessness will hopefully be going down as the end goal. With the ILA, how does that respond to hopefully a lessening need across King County and specifically North King County?
Fantastic question. What we're seeking here, and I think if I can even take us back to 2018, if we can remember that far back, it feels like a long time ago. A big reason for the impetus of the creation of the King County Regional Homelessness Authority was because we had created this tremendously fragmented system where we had multiple public funders providing funding to the same service providers and requiring different types of measurement and reporting on outcomes. There wasn't this streamlined, consolidated and coordinated response about here is the vision, here is the thing that we're actually working towards, here are the things we're going to measure. And so since the Regional Homelessness Authority is formally signed and created through interlocal agreement between Seattle and King County, which has already created a lot more efficiency in our system and being able to look across, and would love to come back and actually crosswalk and walk you through the robust data efforts that we do have. I didn't have enough time tonight to go into all of it, but we still have a system where we have a number of jurisdictions that are in many ways doing their part, providing funding to local service providers. But that's a further point of fragmentation, because then that's another element of a difference in response. And so I do want to uplift that we're having similar conversations with East King County and South King County. They are also moving in the direction towards wanting to move in an ILA, because it helps facilitate our actual way that we partner together and start moving the needle and clarifying the work. And so while I know what I'm bringing forward to you tonight is quite a administrative function, it's in service of it's the building blocks for actually how we're going to facilitate how we work together. So we can really be clear on what are the activities that we're going to be working on the next couple of years, and how are we going to know when we're successful about achieving those things.
Yep.
So how, as we start being successful, how does that affect the allocation by city? Are we going to be readdressing that yearly at the 4-year agreement mark? Like, when do we reassess our need to fund these, as hopefully their need to provide services go down?
Right. So as we'd be looking at, I imagine the next time we'd be coming before you all and talking specifically about funding, it would be 2024. And at that point, we currently are actually underway on a really exciting gap analysis work that will actually further determine the housing gap need for special housing allocations, as well as how much funding is associated with that. By the time we'd be coming forward with funding, we'd be coming forward with a really informed recommendation about what this specific need would be. And so I'd be looking ahead to, when we'd be having conversations in 2023 about that specifically, but I can assure you all, a whole lot of data under our belt specifically about the scale of need. And then we would also be talking about, here's kind of the plan moving forward. And that would have been shaped by, in conversation with a number of our North King County service providers, not just in the coalition space, but then also in conversation when we do meet with various providers and system partners. That was a very wordy answer, but a commitment to, we have some really some really exciting incoming gap analysis work that will get very specific about, here is how much of this type of housing is needed in North King County, and here is how much that would cost. And that's something that's incoming actually before the end of the year. And we're very excited to be able to talk more about, but we likely wouldn't be having a conversation about that funding piece until about a year from now, truly. And we'll have a lot more time to work together in between now and then.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Just because I like to say this, I really, to be honest, you guys sound like you spent a lot of money on figuring things out. I hope in 3 or 4 years, when you come back, you can show me what you actually accomplished, because that's really what this is about. Our numbers got to change. We spent a lot of money in this state on this problem, and nothing's gotten better. So I don't really care about a gap analysis. I want you to come back and say, we actually accomplished this, because the citizens, $15,000 City Lake Forest Park's not a big deal, but we need to see results. So figure out how to get the results, and that would be awesome. And we'll spend the next time talking about how wonderful it is. And in all honesty, I'd love you to go out of business so we don't have to do that anymore. So it's kind of neat that you have a job that you want to put yourself out of business. So good luck with that. Okay. With that, thank you very much. You have a great night. Thank you very much for coming. Everybody else okay? With that, we'll move on. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you all. Take care.
All righty, I believe we are on to our community partners. Actually, this is one of my favorite things in the budget. Actually, one of my favorite and the hardest, because I always, the way I am, I'd love to give you guys each $1 million, but I don't have it. But you guys are really true partners to the City of Lake Forest Park. I've been involved with quite a few, and thank you very much. Corey Roach, our rock star when it comes to this stuff. You know that thing raises, Corey. We have a little button on it.
It's okay. So first we'll have Center for Human Services, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Ara. She is the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Manager.
Hi there, everybody. It's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us to do a presentation with y'all tonight. Very happy to be here. My name is Aura, she, her pronouns, and I'm representing CHS tonight. And before I actually begin, I just wanted to say I really appreciated that proclamation earlier tonight about having September National Recovery Month. That is what we do. We focus on mental health, we focus on SUD treatment, and I love the fact that y'all proclaim that this is something that should be brought to the attention of your community. And so it just made me feel really good. So tonight I'll be going over just like an overview of our services, introducing who we are, talking a little bit about our core values, and then going into a little bit of like Lake Forest Park by the numbers, like what's actually happened in the last few years. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and please bear with me. I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me. All righty. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. First off, thank you so much for having us tonight. My name is Aura L. I am the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Manager for Center for Human Services. So I wanted to give a brief overview of what I'll be going over tonight. So first off, I wanted to start with an expression of gratitude. Then we'll go over who we are, where are our locations, what are our core values, and then we'll go a little bit into our programs and services, and then we'll go into Lake Forest Park by the numbers. So first and foremost, we wanted to say thank you so much to Lake Forest Park. Thank you so much to the city leaders. During COVID, your gift of COVID-19 relief funds was used to acquire technology that allowed us to help provide virtual services for Lake Forest Park residents and beyond. So I wanted to start off with that. Like, thank you so much for all your help during the COVID times. So for those who may not know, the Center for Human Services is a community-based nonprofit youth and family services agency that has been a resource to children, youth, adults, and families since 1970. We have been around for several decades now, over 50 years. And to summarize it, we are a trauma-informed behavioral health social services agency, and that is who we are. So these are our locations. We actually have 6 locations that serve Snohomish and King County. And so we go as far north as Everett, and we go as far south as Shoreline. And our 6th location, we actually just opened it up. It's over in Bothell. We just opened up that 6th location, and we started running programs out of that location this summer. And we are running mental health and family support services out of that to serve the residents of Bothell. And like most programs pre-COVID, we were primarily doing programs in person, but COVID really gave us an opportunity to establish virtual and telehealth programs as well. And we have continued those programs as we start to kind of settle into like post-COVID-ish time. So we're continuing those telehealth services. So these are our core values, and we really want to live up to these core values. Like, this is what we believe in as an agency. This is what we believe in as employees and the staff at CHS. So first off, we believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion. We respect and embrace the diversity of our community, and we're committed to being an inclusive organization that values social equity, where all people can feel safe, respected, and valued. We believe in providing accessibility. We provide services that are easy to find, use, and understand. And in this realm of mental health and behavioral health in general, that can be really difficult sometimes. We champion collaboration. We foster collaborative relationships that promote creativity, innovation, and teamwork. And we demand accountability, primarily from within ourselves. We want to make sure that we assess and coordinate our programs and systems to assure that we meet high standards of services and care. We personify integrity. We value the strengths and assets of our clients, community members, and coworkers, and are honest, respectful, and ethical in our interactions. And lastly, we have fun. We are passionate about the work that we do, and we use humor to promote a positive work environment. You gotta have fun when you're working in this field. So we really want to center that as well. So I wanted to go over real quick. So we have several different services and programs that we run under CHS. So this right here is a list of our clinical services. So you're looking at mental health, substance use disorders treatment, behavioral health integration, and community-based intensive services. So brief overview, and I'm saying like brief. I don't have enough time to like go in depth, but there's so much that comes out of these programs. So our mental health programs, we provide assessments and evaluations, as well as school-based and office-based therapy for children, youth, and or adults. So that's from ages 6 to 99. Like, those services are aimed at that age range, and we provide it for youth. We're in office and we're also in schools. And so our substance use disorders treatment program, we provide assessments, we provide group counseling, individual and family counseling as well, and then care management services. And we provide that through 2 different services. We have our intensive outpatient program, IOP, and our outpatient program. So those are the 2 substance use disorders treatment programs that we're running out of that department. And so the difference really is like the amount of time we spend on clients. For our IOP program under SUD, you're looking at about a minimum of 10 hours a week. And for the outpatient program, you're looking at about typically 3 hours. And again, that can take place either as an individual or even like a family-based setting. It really centers around that, whoever we're working with and what will work best for that person. Next, we have our behavioral health integration program. And that's a program where we've actually partnered with a couple of local clinics. And we have therapists embedded in 5 different clinics in the area, some in King County and some in Snohomish County. And what that is it's the idea of a holistic form of treatment. So it's the idea that if you're going in there for something that is a physical ailment, or say chronic pain or something that's chronic, you don't have to go very far in order to access like therapeutic services, right? It's not as intensive or as deep as like say what you would get in a mental health, but it is right there and you wouldn't have to worry about transportation. I have a medical appointment and right after that I can go and see a therapist. And so really providing that accessibility and ensuring that we're looking at a person as holistically as possible. And then we have our community-based intensive services, CBIS. And so that umbrella, there are 2 main programs that run out of that umbrella. We have our infant and early childhood mental health. And then we also have our WISE wraparound program. And these are mainly community and home-based programs. Like, we go to you, we go to where the clients need us most. And when we're talking about infant and early childhood, so those are folks who are pregnant or they are a new parent. And for children, young children from ages 0 to 5. So we provide perinatal like support through our infant and early childhood mental health therapists. And then we also help provide like developmental support for like those children, especially when it comes to their mental health, which is like a really new kind of like emerging field. And then our WISE and wraparound program is really aimed more towards like those older youth. And those can be youth that they age out at age 21, and it's really centered around that youth, and it's really intensive services. So it really depends on what goals and what kind of support systems that youth wants to build. So those are the two programs under our community-based services. And I also wanted to mention that CHS is licensed by the Washington State Department of Health to provide these clinical services. And earlier this year, I'm actually really proud of this one, we earned our 4th consecutive accreditation through CARF International, which stands for the Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities. And not only did we get it, like for the 4th time, we earned their highest accreditation, which is valid for 3 years. And that's really difficult because they look at like everything from top to bottom, from not just the services itself, but also administrative, the documents, and they recommended us for their highest accreditation. And I'm really proud of that. That's a testament to our programs, and that's a testament to our employees and our staff. Like we really are committed to providing quality services for our communities. And then next, I'll go into our 5th program, which is family support services. This is not a clinical program, but it's really a core of what we are. We want to be able to provide family support services to folks here at Lake Forest Park residents and beyond, right? So this is located at our 170th Shoreline and our Bothell location, but we also provide some virtual programs through some of these as well. So that focus is really on promoting and strengthening protective factors that build resilience, specifically with children and with family units. So I wanted to go a little bit in depth about like these programs. So first we have the Kaleidoscope Play and Learn program, which we are inviting parents, caregivers, and children's ages 0 to 5 to play, create, and learn during this facilitated playtime. Like it's not a daycare. We want to invite families to learn how to play together, especially with those very, very young children, and that's free. And that takes place over at those locations. And then we have our Positive Discipline for Families. That one is an 8-week program. At the moment, we're running it virtually, and I'm more than likely that will like shift back to in-person. Maybe we'll hit a hybrid model. We'll see how it goes. We're in the middle of that program actually. So it's 8 weeks, and it's for families, parents, caregivers who are looking for extra support on like how to build stronger relationships with their children, how to provide positive discipline, how to kind of like unlearn some of the things that might be making it hard to connect with your kids. And so that's an 8-week program that we run. And next we have our kinship caregiver support program. And for folks who don't understand that term kinship caregiver, essentially it is for relatives who are taking care of their relatives' children. And primarily who we see through that program is grandparents who are taking care of their grandchildren. And we are able to provide them with like support. Again, what kind of support do they need? Is it navigating a certain program? Is it just having somebody to talk to? Is it finding like a group support system? We want to make sure, again, we're centering that person, we're centering that family. And then lastly, we have our out of school time program. I actually really like this program. This is a partnership we have with King County Housing Authority, and it's run out of Ballinger Homes. And this is an after school program. During the school year, it's called Homework Factory. And several days out of the week, we'll provide like homework support and just provide a place for kids to hang out, have a snack, be able to help them with their homework, tutor them if needed, and also empower older youth in volunteering, maybe facilitating some programs here and there. So that's during the school year. And then during the summer, it turns into Camp Ballinger. And they go out and they have fun. They go on field trips, they go to the beach, the pool, they go to movies, musicals, what have you. And so they provide services year round to those youth who live in Ballinger homes. And I really like this program. It's one of my favorite programs that we run. All righty. Next, we'll go over Lake Forest Park by the numbers. Now, I wanted to make it really clear that these numbers, they don't include folks who just came in to receive information or like a referral, or they received a service, but they didn't actually join, like become a participant of a program. Like these numbers only represent those who actually got into or are seeking support through an actual program, not just like, I came in, y'all help me out, and then I'm gonna go on my way. So In 2021, CHS served 36 Lake Forest Park residents. And now in 2022 through July of this year, these are our most recent numbers, we've served 32 Lake Forest Park residents so far. And then also through July of this year, we have provided 699 hours of service so far, which puts us on track to serve 1,198 client hours in 2022. And also I wanted to say that what this means, like all the numbers and all of these and the hours and that. So what this means is Lake Forest Park, through your human services budget, you are contributing $22.54 towards each hour of service provided to a Lake Forest Park resident. And also I want to make sure y'all understand this is all ages. This is not just adults. This is all Lake Forest Park residents that we serve through our programs in the past year. That's the cost. And the cost of providing those services are actually around, depending on the program, $125 to $275 an hour. That's a lot. And I think it's a pretty good deal. I think it looks pretty good that is the quality service that we can provide. And for folks who are wondering, well, then how do we make up the rest of that money per hour? Well, we cover the rest by using funds through other grants and through our fundraising efforts. So the rest of that cost is covered by us. And now gets to, that is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much. I'm gonna stop sharing. And I am open for any questions. And if I don't have the answer, I will get the answer to you later.
Council members? She was so thorough. You guys have no questions? John Lebo, Councilmember Lebo.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It was wonderful. I wanted to check the last slide that you had talked about Lake Forest Park residents served and the cost of providing those services. If I understand, the 1,200 hours that are projected for 2022 represent services for Lake Forest Park residents. That's correct?
Yes, I believe so. I can get some clarity on that and provide more like information, but yeah.
So my question really is, do you receive grant funds from King County?
I don't know the specific answers because finances is not, but yes, we do receive grant money from King County and Snohomish through a variety of different resources.
So when we look at Lake Forest Park's contribution, you're just looking at it from the city's contribution as opposed to the citizens of Lake Forest Park who pay taxes for which King County provides services and grants to agencies. So the actual contribution from the citizens of Lake Forest Park is not just limited to the actual contribution from the city. Is that right?
Let me get back to you on that. But yeah, from what I'm understanding is that is like the human services budget that was provided by Lake Forest Park. It doesn't count the King County grants or other grants from other services or other places that cover the rest of the costs.
So it's not including the value of the citizens' contributions to King County taxes for which it funds.
No, I don't believe so. No.
Okay, thank you. So part of my point is that the citizens of Lake Forest Park are contributing more than just the $22.54 through the taxes for which King County provides grants to these agencies, including Center for Human Services.
I can go a little bit more in depth. I'll work with Corey to go a little bit more in depth on the breakdown if you would like, and I can send that information over later.
I was just curious. I mean, I was trying to represent the value for which Lake Forest Park was contributing. Okay, thank you.
But I can find that information if you would like. Like, that's no issue.
Okay.
It's like
I'm curious, in terms of the contribution that would come from the citizens.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Bodie.
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation. And I just want to say, while I've been a supporter of the work done by the Center for Human Services, I always learn more from your presentations, and I'm just kind of in awe of the scope and coverage. What is the size of your staff at this point?
All right, let's see. We are getting close to about 150. We're like mid 140, and I don't believe that counts interns.
Okay. And do you know what your annual budget amount is, your total annual budget for providing all these services?
Unfortunately, not off the top of my head.
That's okay. That's okay. It's just a large, I'm sure it's a large budget for a large organization, just including the staff, not including the services provided. So I just want to say thank you. It was a great presentation, even though you said you were nervous, you were great. And I learned a lot, as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, Councilmember Cass over.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you so much for the presentation, Aria. I'm like Councilmember Bodie. I'm always just so pleased to hear the strengths of the organization, and they seem to grow each and every year, and it's very exciting. I should talk to you sometime about my experience with the creation of community mental health centers from the 1970s, because I was there and a researcher looking at how that was all going on. So it's very, very cool to see that they're still strong and providing services 50 years later. So I really don't have a question, Ari. I just want to say thank you. And please give our best wishes to all that work at the Center for Human Services. You occupy a very important role in our community as writ large. And we are very grateful that you do the work you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the kind words. I really appreciate it. And I'll be sure to pass it on to the rest of our staff. They are incredibly hardworking, and we're just doing our best to serve our community and also make sure we don't burn out. So
Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I will. Fun fact about the mayor, I actually played Santa Claus there about 4 times, or actually, I guess it's 6 times on once a year during our church group. And that was actually one of the most rewarding days I had. I was amazed at all you do and for so many people. And thank you. It's a great thing you have, and we need people. We need partners like you. How's that go? So have a great night. You did a great job, and we'll move on. Have a good night. Okay, take care. Thank you.
Okay, next we'll have Teresa with the Shoreline Lake Forest Park Senior Center. She's in person.
Welcome, Teresa.
It's pretty good. Good evening, Mayor Johnson and council members. It's a great pleasure to be here. Last summer, I was not able to Zoom in and speak with you as I was starting to recover from a critical accident. So it's been a long time, and I've missed being a part of our relationship. So going through our slideshow, can we go to the next slide, please? Lake Forest Park has not been closed. It has not been quiet. It has been extremely busy these past few years. You've seen reports come in with statistics on the volume of emergency services that we provided in 20 and 21, an area that none of us had ever worked in before. Food security, medical services, pharmaceutical services, household repairs, and we did it with a group of volunteers. So then we came to July 15th, 2021, and we, along with other senior centers, chose to start opening our regular programming through Zoom, which, as you know, only a small portion of seniors operate Zoom on their own. Unless their adult children are present, it's very challenging for many. So we did continue emergency services. We got extensively involved in the vaccination program. We were the only location in North King County outside of pharmacies that were providing vaccinations. And I will tell you, I have to secretly tell you, I was not an authorized clinic, but with the awesome fire department that services all of us, we did vaccinations daily for 2 months. We provided transportation. We had 2 volunteers on the phone 5 days a week for 8 weeks, calling and calling, because we've trained our seniors not to answer unknown numbers, or they don't listen to messages on their answering machine. It's really a delightful group. We have a lot of fun. And these volunteers tracked down people that were isolated because of languages. Everything went digital, computerized. How does a senior magically know how to get on a computer and schedule an appointment for vaccination? So we heard of people driving to Walla Walla, to Bellingham, and I said, that's it, we're doing it. And our fire department was awesome. They jumped in with us. I got a few notices from the King County Health Department, but we kept it up. So we did start to increase our in-house programming at that point as well, while maintaining food security, meaning emergency groceries, delivery of food to homes. And I think if you remember the stats, 2020, we did over 40,000 the home delivered meals. That everything broke in our commercial kitchen. It was all 30 years old, everything broke, and I was able to get a grant to replace most of it, which was awesome. And so as we moved in to programming, we are a wellness model senior center. There's been a trend for about 8 years of heading into a specific style, an outdoor focused senior center. Lifelong learning, educational classes. We chose wellness model in 2019, and that is why we shut down the thrift store and created a very meditative yoga style studio in that space. It's very lovely. It's very soothing. We even go sit in it on a bad day for a couple of minutes. And we added some unique programming. We have an accredited cognitive assessment provider. He is a mental health counselor trained in this, and he's providing free cognitive assessments. I contracted a veteran benefit advisor. What this person does, he sits with veterans and he not only helps them know what benefits are available. You'd be shocked how many veterans of every age do not know that they qualify for burial rights, that there's spousal benefits, all these things. And I can tell you about 3 weeks ago, we had 4 World War II veterans walk through our door for appointments. 2 96-year-olds, a 97, and the 98-year-old drove himself there. I'm glad the chief is gone. But we're just thrilled. It's going, I contract the individual for Fridays, and he just has appointments nonstop. We're on Zoom, so either the social worker or I sit with the senior and help them. If it's somebody younger, they do it on their own. And what they're finding is we can increase their benefit percentage. What people forget, hearing loss, vision deficit, organ challenges from Agent Orange, which right now there's far more medical issues being recognized by VA due to Agent Orange. Hallelujah, it's about time, and we're thrilled. So that was another one. We started offering ESL conversation, and last month added writing, ESL writing skills. And then we went into a lot of health programs, Tai Chi and yoga for arthritis, for osteoporosis, for stress reduction. Everything has been very successful. So it has told us we're moving in the right direction. As for the continued emergency services on top of 61 classes, programs, we started giving $50 gift cards to people in need. And we still, like I said, deliver the groceries. I can tell you one day the phone rang and it was in 2021. And I answered, and this gentleman on the other end identified that he was from Governor Inslee's office. And I said, hello, how can I help you? Teresa, why is there a woman without food in her fridge and cupboards in your town? What is going on over there? Well, that was a very strong presentation, and we jumped to it, and we serviced that woman for several months, and she definitely was in need. I have beautiful letters from them that I should pass on to you. Her family was all in Canada, what few there were, and she was completely on her own. And remember, I-5 was shut down. There were no buses. The grocery store lines were long, and then the shelves were empty. So it hasn't gone away. Now we see the grocery prices so high, I don't know how low-income people are going to get fresh produce and dairy. Do you mind going to the next slide? Okay, so I wanted to give you some quick stats. 64% of our people are age 65 plus in 2022. We have increased our number that are under that from 50 to 64 has increased, but it will, the reason is COVID brought out a whole new group of the last of the baby boomers, and we're thrilled to have them. So, but our seniors are still of the biggest concern. 47% identify as Caucasian or white. The rest either identify, most do not identify as anything. But we know we have Filipino, Korean, Cantonese, Mandarin, and Hispanic coming to the center. There's probably a little bit of Eritrean and some other groups from the African nations, but unfortunately, it's like pulling teeth to get them to identify. The same with the gender. But the big thing going with the gender identification is every agency struggles to service males. And we've increased to 14% from 2019. And we attribute it to the type of new fitness classes we're offering, the veteran services, and our social worker being on hand. City of Shoreline granted us funds for 2 years for a part-time social worker. And I can tell you that has escalated the demand for services. We're in shock. We're in this business and we're in shock. The two previous presenters, I'm sitting there applauding them because we rely on them. Housing, low-cost housing, not affordable, low-cost housing is the #1 issue our social worker deals with, and financial security. And these are not people that are didn't live productive lives. They just happened, they were in an era when the companies they worked for 30 years didn't have pension plans or very poor pension plans. And so the next slide shows you the incomes levels. We have 36% of our members are in what we call the low to lowest level of income. So that's $25,000 a year or less to live on in King County, Washington. I won't say more on that. You understand how critical that is. So moving on to the next, the immigrant status, we really are working hard to try to get identification so we know what programming to offer. Again, when you feel that you're a minority, it's hard to identify. So our staff, we work, it's all new staff from what some of you might know from 7-8 years ago. And COVID created a situation of all new staff. I'm the longest term, other than a foot care provider. And we have 5 languages amongst us to help service people. We advertise everywhere in the center, our bilingual capacity. We put on our website the bilingual language, but link, you know, you just click it and away you go to whatever language you want. There's a saying, remember the famous baseball, build it and they will come. Well, that's kind of our slogan, build the programs that these individuals that feel they don't fit anywhere. And I can tell you, it doesn't only refer to immigrants and low income. So the next page shows you what our projected goals are and where we're going. We need to add staffing. We are 3 full-time staff. There are 3 part-time. One is a 10-hour-a-week accountant, a 24-hour-a-week foot care provider, and through your grace, and thank you very much, a 20-hour-a-week grant-funded special projects person. who has been indispensable. So I have to find funding. Otherwise, I can't expand my services. I have to develop more wellness and nutrition programs, particularly in the Spanish language, because the school district has such a high volume of families that are Hispanic. The grandparents are there. We just haven't accessed them. We need to offer programming that supports grandparents raising grandchildren, and how I've written a grant to an agency, cross your fingers. I only asked for $8,000, and it was to pay for after school curricular activities for the grandchildren. Many of those children never get to play softball, be a cheerleader, play soccer, because you have to buy the equipment yourself. The agencies don't provide it. So we want to help them with that, and we want to help them with food security, whether it be fresh groceries and not just rice and beans. We want produce and we want dairy in it. We want to increase the digital and technical training. The grant you did provide us through ARPA is really helping with that. Continue our veteran support with additional programs and increase participation by the next generation. On the side, I put a couple examples. We're starting next month a cancer survival class. Toshiko Aramaki is a highly reputable fitness instructor with our agency, and she just finished a major research with UW on cancer survivor exercise, and people from all over the country supported it on Zoom, and we're continuing it in our center with a big focus on Lake Forest Park and Shoreline. And we won't refuse people from elsewhere, and it's going to be free, but we do want to support our communities the most. We are looking at the LGBTQ community. The only thing we've been doing is rainbow bingo, not because we haven't wanted to do more. We haven't had the success we were hoping to in other things, but the rainbow bingo has been extremely successful and given us a channel to now develop that venue further. And anything to do with ESL learning that is presented in a warm and welcoming manner, we're going to continue. So our partnerships are many, and they're on that. I won't go through them, but I do want you to know partnerships are not always free. So a partnership that I've been working on literally for 4 years was going to cost $9,000 to have Spanish programming in the building 1 day a week. And I got the memorandum of understanding today, and it's $24,000 in 2022. I will be denying. I just can't. I can't take that on, but I will research another source, and I don't know where. I've tried really hard, but I will find somebody. I will find a way to do it that is cost effective. And it is. All of the vendors, all the partners are struggling themselves. So it's finding new unique ways. We are developing our language courses. We lost all of our language instructors. They retired during COVID. And then we're looking at the universities now to resource interns that are in linguistics and such, or language specific courses, and bring them on board. And the intergenerational, many of our funding sources want us to do that. We have Spartan Gym next door. We have YMCA down the road. They do a fantastic job of that, both of them. But we are finding ways that we can do it. And one of them is through human service delivery, which they do not do. So we will be doing that. What are the, oops, did somebody, no? Can you go to the challenges facing the senior center? So the challenges facing us, We absolutely love our relationship with Shoreline Lake Forest Park School District. Fantastic landlords. They have their own challenges this year. So in 2022, our rent was increased $400. You graciously have provided assistance this year through a grant. And last week I got notice that we will have a $16,000 utility bill for the first time, starting July. And for a year, it'll be $16,000. That's a big chunk. So if you'd have been in my office today after that last week and today's bill, I was like, you know, you take one step forward and two step back. I'm going to find a way to increase staffing, even part-time people. You saw the passion in those other presenters. We have that passion too. And a part-time person can just do phenomenal. The social worker is unbelievable, the work she's turning out. And so resourcing gerontology-based fitness instructors is near impossible right now. There's a mass shortage of fitness instructors all across the nation, but gerontology-based is the highest. And we want to find ways to reach these grandparents. They don't come to the center for anything. They don't have time, and they think they need money for anything. Yes, we charge for some stuff, and then we offer a whole lot free. We try to have a balance. You can't give everything free. You won't stay in business. So I want to close with sharing with you, when I came on board as a director in 2019, we were 138,000 in the hole. And I was all ambitious and we're going to do this fundraiser and this fundraiser, and COVID, 2 months in, hit. Through the grace and the kindness, and I'm going to cry, of Lake Forest Park residents, Shoreline residents, and some private foundation, family foundations that I accessed, we not only paid that off, it took the 2 years, but we entered 2021 with $9,996 in the black. Hallelujah. And so for me, and my staff, starting 2022 was on a good note. We weren't in the red for the first time in 4 years. And so we are seeing the vendors raise 20 to 30% all costs. We keep going through every expenditure and cutting back everywhere we can. We did that during COVID, and that's what saved us. And we're doing it again, and we will continue to do it. And we will do without some vendors. But our population has shifted. And it isn't that we're servicing only low income, but that 36%, 34% is a high number. And so we are asking of you a $25,000 grant to help us this next year, meet the demand of the community. If you look to the reports being turned in quarterly, we have exceeded almost every area that you set an expectation for 2022. We've already exceeded it because we follow our grants very carefully. And what do our funders want in return? And we create our services and programming along that line. And we feel that you listen when we say this is where the needs are, this is where the trends are. And I can tell you our medical services, we lost some during COVID, but Bastyr naturopathic medical, homeopathic services, foot care, the social worker. I had a student mental health counselor, but she's gone. So I rely on the agency that just spoke before us now. They're fantastic. And we need to keep adding in our medical services. We are one-stop shopping. And that's the joke amongst the seniors. We are one-stop shopping, and we need to keep that up. So I really need to give you time to ask questions. I could run on all day. I'm sorry. But I thank you for letting me come. I thank you for allowing us to do the job we do. We can't do it without your support. We love it. There are days we pull our hair out. There are days like today when a woman comes in that is so cranky, not one person out of 4 can make her happy. And then you have somebody else walk up and say, if I could hug you, I would. I'm so grateful. This is where I come to feel good. So, do you have any questions for me?
Council members. Yes, Councilmember Bodie.
Thank you very much. I always appreciate your presentations and I'm in awe of what you've done during the COVID time to be nimble and adapt. That is just so impressive, especially I had forgotten that you came into the COVID times with a deficit. I recall that one of the issues that you faced at one point was a reduction of funding from King County.
May I address that?
And I would love to hear about that because I really hope that isn't happening anymore.
So Councilmember Bodie, in 2019, we went to the meetings. All of the community centers, senior centers made our pitch. We all submitted our grants to the Veteran, Seniors and Human Services Levy. We all know our citizens voted on that. Our citizens are taxpayers. And what happened? They awarded $250,000 to 39 senior centers and 13 of us got nothing. And of the 13, I was one. Ballard was one. West Seattle, Vashon Island, Black Diamond. And that's when I really came to understand rumors I'd heard that the county thought Shoreline and Lake Forest Park were retirement communities for the millionaires and the wealthy of the county. We know we have a percentage of that, but it's just a percentage. And so 4 of us met with our individual council members. And I will tell you, Councilmember Dombowski had no idea how they chose and that they didn't distribute to all senior centers an even portion, nor did Dow Constantine. So 4 of us met with Executive Director Constantine. We held our tempers, we presented our cases, and then our council members went back and took $57,000 out of a budget for us for 2 years. So that was 2020 and 2021. Prior to that, I was getting 95,000 or 90,000 from the county. So it was a big drop. This year, we weren't going to get anything. So we got on the ball ahead of time and said, woohoo, we're out here in limbo and things aren't fair. So they did say they did award it for this year as well. And now we've just had several meetings with them. Anybody from the 83 agencies that wanted to attend and speak, because they recognize, and they're the first to say, the committee and the county staff that oversaw the distribution of that VSHSL funding, and with it coming up as a levy again, that they did a very poor job in the distribution process. I can tell you 57,000 is absolutely delightful. But when I saw my friends getting 250, it was very painful. So, and many
So
of
it
these
isn't
were
It
city-sponsored
isn't
senior centers.
proportionate in any way. In other words, so we've basically lost over time from the way the allocations used to be due to this committee structure.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Mhm.
Why, that is very frustrating to hear since, we pay our fair share of taxes. And I had hoped that you would tell me the problem was solved, not that it was kind of ongoing with Band-Aids.
They say it'll be different this next levy round. And yes, it was very painful because when you have city-sponsored Parks and Rec and senior centers under, or community centers under Parks and Rec, they receive a budget January 1st. They do no fundraising. Those of us that are nonprofit independent agencies, I have to raise $610,000 a year. So we don't have a lot of, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. We don't have a lot of commercial. We don't have a lot of retail. We don't have a lot of industry. And it's just finding unique ways. So right now I'm writing grants. 5,000, 8,000, 2,000. And my boss laughs at me. She says, well, you got out of the hole because you took money from anything that would give you money. Or you went after money anywhere you could get it. And I said, yeah, but it worked.
Well, it seems to me that it's a good message for us to take as elected representatives to talk to our King County representatives, because we don't want to encourage our citizens to vote again for the levy without knowing that the formula for distribution of funds has been improved.
I would appreciate that because I only have a small voice when I meet with them. But Rod Dembowski, Councilmember Dembowski, was livid and listened. And he stood by us, and so did two other council members whose senior centers were affected.
But nevertheless, we went from 90 to 57 and then ad hoc funding sources. So that's not a good setup.
And the 57 was just because we screamed so loud.
Right, right. So I think we need a better fix for the future. Thanks for answering that
No
question.
problem.
I appreciate learning about it.
Any other council members? Okay. You're a rock star, by the way.
Oh,
And
I love what I do, and so does my staff. I hope if you're out and about, drop in, have lunch with us. You'll see, they're just everywhere doing, multitasking is their middle name. But thank you for the compliment.
thank you very much.
So-
You do a great job. Corey, before you go forward, Amy, welcome. I'm gonna just say you do a fantastic job and you always have a smile on your face. Representative Quinn from Shore Lake Arts, I'm gonna tell you before that you get a fantastic job, and I gotta tell you, the Battle of the Bands was fantastic. I hope you guys will keep it in Lake Forest Park because we really enjoyed it and it was a really good turnout. But unfortunately, I'm gonna leave you guys to Councilmember French. Have family that flew in tonight and I want to go see my sister and have a lot going on. And you hit a heartstring because I'm laying my 97-year-old World War II veteran to rest on Saturday, and I'm going to go deal with family, and Tom will take it away. You guys have a good weekend. See you guys. You bet.
Excuse me. Well, hi, everybody. In my role as deputy mayor, sometimes, as I've indicated before, I have to be the mayor's stunt double. So be gentle, please, in the stunts. And Amy, I wanted to welcome you tonight. Thank you so much for being with us. And I'm sorry, Corey, would you like to introduce Amy, please? I apologize.
Go ahead, Amy. Let's just keep this going.
Please, Amy, go ahead.
Okay, let me just get my slides up on screen. All right, do you see it okay? Darn it. Now it's stuck on my screen. All right, is it there now? There it is. Great. All right. Well, thank you, Deputy Mayor French, council members, for having me tonight. And I am happy to be here. I'm always happy to talk with you about the progress that we're making at Third Place Commons, and in particular during the pandemic era. And I also want to talk tonight about how we're tiptoeing back towards something resembling pre-pandemic norms. And I want to start tonight with our mission. And get that to go there. Because for those of you who aren't familiar, our mission really serves as the framework for, of course, everything we do, but also for my presentation tonight. The Third Place Commons mission is to enrich and foster real community and real space. And we do take a three-pronged approach to this work through free public events, putting on the Lake Forest Park Farmers Market, and through partnerships with local organizations, public agencies, and small businesses to help maximize their impact. So I'm going to share a little with you about each of those prongs tonight. The first of these, of course, is hosting free public events. And as we shared previously, and like most other organizations, we did need to move to online programming at the beginning of the pandemic. So we started in 2020 with virtual programs. And in 2021, we were hosting exclusively virtual programs for the first half of the year under the TPC at Home moniker. Then by late summer, we began with a few of our sort of our first in-person events before relaunching in-person programming in earnest in fall of last year. And as you can see, even in a shortened year of programming in person, we still managed to bring quite a lot of live music and community performances safely to the stage last fall. Now, the virtual programs we hosted over the course of the year covered a wide variety of topics. Here's just sort of a snapshot of a few of them. Some were just for fun, like our Pandemic Picks series and our Summer of Music. We also had programs about aging and about the power of representation in comics, and a program about beloved community in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And we also presented a series of programs on different aspects of going green. And these included green gardening and the ethics of climate change and recycling. And then we also hosted the first climate town hall and a program about heat pumps, both of which were partnership events with the LFP People for Climate Action, or sometimes I have People for Climate Action LFP, so I have to get that one straight. But I'm going to circle back to them again shortly. And so throughout 2021, we also continued hosting a number of our recurring weekly and monthly groups and meetups, including our foreign language conversation groups, our book and movie clubs, and our computer Q&As. And these were all virtual in 2021, though some of them have moved to hybrid or are in the process of shifting to hybrid this year as we're opening up. And this summer, our Commons Art-ins also resumed inside the Commons. But in addition to those oncoming and largely virtual events, which are still continuing this year, we've also brought back extensive in-person programming. So here you have sort of a high-level look at some of what we've hosted as standalone events so far this year. We have much more to come in the year that remains. But as you see, we've already hosted over 50 weekend concerts, over a dozen community performances, over half a dozen youth performances. We've had senior focused dance events and a whole assortment of unique community events, including two of our big annual events, the second annual Community Town Hall, which is on climate sustainability, and the return of the Secret Gardens of Lake Forest Park Garden Tour and Market. And those two events I highlight in particular because they're both great examples of our partnership events. And as I mentioned, partnerships are another major prong in our model for building community. Our partnerships help us bring valuable programs to the community and help maximize the impact of all of those partners at the same time. And big annual events like these really only can happen through strong partnerships, like the ones we have with all of these groups and organizations. Of course, those aren't the only partnership events. We have lots, and from educational lectures to civic programs to events that are just for fun or entertainment, we're proud to partner with a really wide variety of local nonprofits and nonprofits and small businesses and agencies and community groups. And you see here a sampling of other partners that we've worked with to bring events to life. And as you'll see, there are civic partners and nonprofits and lots of arts partners who bring great community performances to our stage, like ballet and hula. And this year we even had senior cloggers for the first time, and that was a fun one. We've also been hosting weekly performances this summer by Seattle's Performers, which is a youth theater education organization that's been hosting weekly summer camps right here in Town Center this year. So that's been a neat addition to our summer programs. And here are just a few examples of other events we've hosted through those partnerships. Events like our Civic Saturdays, our nonpartisan political forums, which I know you're all familiar with, educational lectures about local history, and community service events. So you see how through all of these partnerships, we're able to serve our community and also bring the good work of all of these partners to the fore. And of course, one other key partner I want to mention is the City of Lake Forest Park. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our partnership event, Family Day at the Lake Forest Park Farmers Market, coming up next week on August 21st. So in addition to the city's booths, we'll have live music and a harpist who will let kids experiment with the harp, and a short performance from the Northwest Ballet Center. And of course, the return of the Bubble Zone, the very popular Bubble Zone. And this will be our first Family Day since 2019, because it's the first year we felt we could safely do it. So we're really excited and looking forward to that event. And I know I'll see lots of you there. And in turn, that actually brings us to the third and final prong in fulfilling our mission to build community, which is, of course, the Lake Forest Park Farmers Market. So we are very much at the market in a rebuilding phase this year. And as much as we all wish that the pandemic was fully over, and in some ways it feels like it is, but we are certainly still feeling the pandemic's impacts. I don't know how many of you remember, but in 2020, when the pandemic first hit, King County Health Department actually required us to cut the size of our market in half. We literally had to cut our vendor count by 50% because we were required to have 10-foot buffers between booths. We were also required, we were prohibited, I should say, from having hot food at the market. And we were required to follow a variety of other protocols that drastically impacted not only our market operations, but also our shopper experience. So these included like dramatic limits on the numbers of shoppers that we were allowed to have at any one time. And that meant long waits to enter the market. You may remember those lines. And unfortunately, that scared off many of our longtime shoppers. So during 21, slowly, those restrictions were removed one by one. But the rebuilding process takes time. And one of the big issues is that it takes time for customers to return. And while we have seen younger shoppers and families largely return to the market, we still haven't seen our senior customer base rebound to pre-pandemic levels. But we are overall seeing steady growth in shoppers this season. And we have brought back hot food, and our vendor count is now up to an average of 30 to 32 vendors per week, which is great. So there's lots of good news. There are some challenges that remain, especially for our vendors, and challenges for our vendors equal challenges for rebuilding the market as well. So one of those is that during the peak of the pandemic, a number of our vendors went out of business or had to set up different business models just to survive. And that has meant that some of our popular vendors from the past simply aren't available to return to the market. We also have vendors who want to return but can't find staff or can't afford the staff wages in the current labor crisis. Other issues like rising diesel prices for the big trucks that bring in all that produce and product, and a really tough weather season for farmers have also been significant barriers for our vendors who want to return to every market they were previously in. The hard costs just to get to and staff a market are so high. And when you don't have as much product to sell, it's harder to make enough to warrant the investment each and every week. And of course, there's also the addition of new and expanding markets in nearby communities, which means we are somewhat at a saturation point, which makes growth in this era a little more challenging than it might otherwise be. Despite all those challenges, I would say that we are indeed growing. I know that we're growing. We see it every week, and it's happening slowly but surely. But it's been really heartening to see our community and so many of you visiting the market every week. It feels really good to feel like things are slowly getting back to normal. And I really do want to say in particular that your individual support and the support of the city really makes such a difference to the market and to our vendors who are working so hard, in some cases, really just to make ends meet this year. So we're always grateful for that, and any support the city can lend in promoting the market and raising awareness about this amazing resource we have right here in the heart of Lake Forest Park every Sunday from Mother's Day to mid-October. And then there's just one last thing I want to share with you, which is I want to talk a little bit about our nutrition assistance programs that we offer at the market. These programs are some of the most valuable services we provide to members of our community who, especially those who are facing food insecurity. Now, looking back at 2021, we distributed about $11,000 in SNAP benefits, which are also known as food stamps, and just over $10,000 in SNAP Market Match, which is a program that doubles SNAP benefits specifically to buy fruits and vegetables, and $5,400 in our own locally funded Third Place Commons program, Market Bucks. So altogether, that totaled over $26,000 in free market food that was distributed to local community members in need. And I wanted to note this as I was listening to Teresa. Where can seniors get produce? This is one place where they can get it, because our Market Bucks, some of the partners I didn't talk about are our Market Bucks partners, and the Senior Center is one of our distribution points, so they're one of our partners. So that's a program that enables seniors to come and access free produce, but our vendors also take senior and WIC vouchers. So many seniors in the community have senior vouchers that they can bring to the market and access free produce that way as well. So those numbers aren't reflected here, but that's another way that food is more accessible to folks who need it. As you can see, just looking at that total, that 26,000, that's actually a $10,000 increase over the prior year, which is sort of evidence that the need is definitely there and is actually growing. And while we're still in progress for this year, as of the midpoint in the season, which is only just passed, we were on track to do about the same or even a bit more this year. So unfortunately, we don't actually see that slowing down anytime, but given the level of community need, we're really proud to be able to meet that need through these programs. And yeah, I mean, obviously we wish the need weren't so high, but as long as it is, we're glad we're able to provide these vital services. And that is really all I have for you. And so thank you so much. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, Amy, thank you so much. I always enjoy your presentations, and your organization does an amazing service for our community. I'm so glad that it's recovering from the post it's not post-COVID, but from the COVID era, which we are still in, I guess. I just wanted to also apologize if we looked a little bit more befuddled than normal. There was some significant feedback here, so it was nothing to do with your lovely presentation. It was that there was some noise coming at the speakers that were like fingernails down a chalkboard. So that I apologize for that. Colleagues, did you have questions for Amy? Councilmember Furutani, please.
Hi, thanks, Amy, for the wonderful presentation, and really appreciate the work you do, especially with the nutrition assistance. I'm just wondering, do you have a sense of whether the clientele that we're getting back, are they mostly like Forest Park residents, or are they a mixture of nearby cities? Do you have any idea what the demographics are?
I mean, there is a mixture. I don't have exact numbers, but anecdotally, and also when we pull reports, we do have zip codes, and the vast majority of them are 98155. So we know they're in this area. That's the overwhelming majority. We get some 98028, we get a little 98034. I mean, we have a few, but the overwhelming majority are 98155. So we know that they're pretty local.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Colleagues, anyone else have any questions for Amy? Okay, well, oh, I'm sorry, please.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much. I just want to say the breadth and scope of your programs, and again, your nimbleness during the pandemic era really are very impressive, and keep up the collaboration with the League of Women Voters and the political discussions. I think that is such an important service that that is provided, and it really, I think it helps the community understand what's in front of them at a time when it's hard to, it's hard, even when you look at our council meetings, it's hard for people to keep track of what's going on. People are busy and kind of swamped. So thank you for that. And thank you for providing opportunities for people to have fun, because we really need that element of our community for us to bond together. The fun part is really essential. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I agree.
Yes, Vice Chair Cassover.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. So Amy, great presentation, really appreciate it. And look, Lake Forest Park wouldn't be Lake Forest Park without Third Place Commons and all that you do. So thank you. And thank you also for supporting so many people in the arts, as well as all the good work you do with food and all the rest of it. And for supporting young people in the arts too. It's such an important way that we help everybody keep their mental health in sort of in good order through these tough times. So really appreciate it. And thanks for hanging in there with us through these tough times, Amy. Really, really glad to see you still there. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Philippa. Let's see, any other questions or comments, everyone? This is actually a good place for us to take a little bit of a break and make the disclaimer that Kenmore is about to start a very large fireworks display. So maybe it's in your honor, Amy, and all of the good things that you do for the community. So
We definitely had people come from Kenmore, so that's probably it.
So if you hear a lot of noise in the background, that's what's going on. It's a very quiet night as well. So thank you again so much for all you do. And I, for one, I'm sure my colleagues share the sentiment that someday, hopefully in the near future, we'll have maybe a way to find a permanent home that doesn't require for the commons, that does not require outside influences. So I look forward to that day sometime. Again, thank you very much for your time tonight. And Corey, with that, who do we have next?
Now we have Quinn, Shore Lake Arts Executive Director.
Hi, Quinn. Thank you for joining us tonight and being so patient.
No worries. My pleasure. Thank you.
You have the floor.
And I would really like to, as maybe all of you know, we just finished the Battle of the Bands in Pfingst Animal Acres Park. And I want to thank the City Council for passing the resolution, Corey for being such an amazing presenting partner, and all of you for what we consider to be a really successful event. I want to thank you for your grant of ARPA funding, which we have yet to quite figure out how to access, but are working with Lindsay Vaughn on, and she's fantastic. So we're really very, very grateful to you. And if I can share my screen, that would be terrific. Let's see. And here we go. Oh, whoops, sorry. There we go. So Shore Lake Arts was founded in 1989. Our mission is to cultivate creativity and inspire our community through the arts. And our community is Lake Forest Park and the city of Shoreline. And we do that through, whoops, sorry, I should be in presentation mode, but somehow my Zoom is getting in the way. Presentation. We do that, whoops. Sorry. Okay, well, there we go. We do that through running programs. We have every year somewhere between 60 and maybe 90 programs, ranging from concerts to classes to workshops to community grants that we support. And this is something where we've worked very hard through the pandemic to keep as much in-person programming as possible to help the communities connect with each other and the arts. We have also developed new programming online to sort of expand our access and our reach, particularly through the school system and some of the other youth projects, and lending itself to mediums like short films and whatnot that are easily viewed and connected with online. So just as a sample, in 2021, this is, okay, now we're back to the previous screen. Sorry about that. In 2021, in the first quarter, oh my God, sorry about that. In the first quarter of 2021, there we go. We were gearing back up to a more complete in-person programming, but still doing a lot of stuff online. So our gallery had reopened by then. It was still going well, but things like edible books were online, and many of our other events that would have been in person had moved to online programming. And in the second quarter of 2021, we continued with some virtual or remote programming. We held in the Short Film Festival online, or rather as a drive-in. And then we started to move with the gracious support of Lake Forest Park and Corey to more in-person programming when we had the Arts Festival in Lake Forest Park, as well as our summer concerts in the park. And last year, our very first in-person Battle of the Bands. And so with the help of Lake Forest Park as a city and a community, we were able to do more programming online than we would have otherwise been able to accomplish by far. I'm going to go back to the other view so I can control these better. And it's really with Lake Forest Park's help that we're able to do that. Last year, for the first time ever, we launched summer art camp, a full series of summer art camp programs. Nearly 100 kids, mostly age 5 through 8, made art over 8 weeks. These were all half-day camps. Then in the third quarter, you'll see we did a number of gallery events. We did have stuff canceled, but we also had new things like the Battle of the Bands and some workshops working in plein air. In the fourth quarter, we added an underground holiday market that was very successful, and we started implementing a new style of adult arts education. In this, we've really seen the demand and the questions grow. We're getting a lot of questions from adults right now asking about our fall programming and what that might be. It's always related to space and where we can find space. What you see there is in the Chamber of Commerce, for Shoreline Chamber of Commerce office, which is also where we're holding our summer camps this year. We will be doing some adult art programming in a room that's the North Seattle French School. And then in January, we will be launching a Pay What You Can youth programming at Spartan Rec. This year, in the, and this is our fourth quarter programming. And last year, we served a total of about 32,800 people, and we're on track to serve a similar number, and that's through either meaningful online engagement where they watch a film or download a project or really connect, or through in-person engagement. This year, we debuted the Lantern Festival. It was a shocking success, despite having to be re-envisioned at the last moment because of the Delta variant that seems so long ago, concerns last February. About a little more than 900 people came and made lanterns and watched the lion dance and kung fu demonstrations, listened to musicians. The musician who played, one of them was one of the judges in Battle of the Bands. So we were delighted to be able to keep things very local that way. And in the first quarter, we also launched a new project where we sent about 1,700 DIY lantern kits in modified Chinese Mandarin with modified characters to the schools, and another 300 to the Y and various other organizations, and then made another 400 at the event. And so working on that model, we plan on doing a similar DIY art and culture kit around Dia de Muertos this year. We also, I don't know if you've been to the gallery recently, but during gallery hours, we now have a little free art studio. And it's been really successful this year. A few more people needing art supplies than leaving them, but people have also been very generous. And we've seen a lot of people coming through town center and taking or leaving art supplies or swapping them out. So that was a new innovation for us at town center. The film festival had 14 films this year. The in-person audience members were 211, and then 756 people viewed the films online. The first place winner wrote me actually yesterday to say how much it helped his film move forward, and to let us know that they're doing a live launch on September 15th, complete with a live dance performance and the film, and that it's helping him build his career as a filmmaker. And I would say Shore Lake Arts really works to connect the community to art, but also to support the artists living and working in our area. And that's a very important part of what we do, and part of what's really meaningful about programs like the gallery, like Battle of the Bands, like the short film festivals and others. In the second quarter, we did more art education, more community events, and gallery openings, and we started our summer art camps. And with our summer art camps is where, to a certain degree, you see just the huge demand in our community for youth arts education, which is where we've begun our focus. We ran 14 camps this year as opposed to the 8 last year, and then added another 2, so a total of 16. All of the camps are pretty much full. I think there were a total of 2 or 3 spaces across all 16 camps that weren't filled. We work to make scholarships available in all of the camps, and we also work to keep the camps as affordable as possible. These camps and our adult art programming at Kruckeberg this summer employed 9 teaching artists, many of whom live right in the North King County area. I don't think any live in Lake Forest Park, but we do have Bothell and Kenmore and Shoreline teachers, as well as Edmonds. And then with the gallery is slowly growing, both the number of artists it serves in our area and the number of visitors. This year, we're expecting to have close to 140 different local and regional artists. Last year, I believe it was 128. We do generate a little bit of excise tax revenue for the city of Lake Forest Park, and are hoping that that continues to grow. We're on track to sell a little more than last year, but the primary goal of the gallery is to connect our community members with affordable, accessible art, and to provide a venue for artists to develop new markets and emerging artists. And one of our gallery artists, this is just serendipity, is Austin Pinich. And he is, I think, a senior this year. He happens to be, serendipitously, the lead artist on the salmon mural that will be painted on September 10th at the Community Picnic Day with the Lake Forest Park Stewardship Council. And we're giving a little bit of a community grant support to that. And then Lisa in the gallery is working to provide any support the Stewardship Council needs in terms of volunteers with mural experience. we have a long-term relationship with you. And last year, Lake Forest Park residents donated nearly 19,000 in support of Shore Lake Arts programs. There's a really strong resident attendance at our events. We had audience members raise their hands if they were from Lake Forest Park at the Battle of the Bands that just occurred. And about half of the members raised their hands. So we were excited to see so many folks come out, many of whom seem to walk just down the street. More than a quarter, based on both addresses and zip codes, of the 200 plus campers in the Arts Adventures camps in the summer and the past spring break and school break live in Lake Forest Park. And while COVID is limiting or has limited some of our partner programming, we look forward to resuming projects this year with groups like King County Library System and Third Place Commons and many of the organizations with whom we've worked in the past. Our service numbers, as I mentioned, are north of 32,000 last year, and we're on track to hit a similar number this year. It's nearly tripled over the past, I guess, 18 years. The costs of doing business right now, as you've heard from everyone, are going up faster than our revenues. So we are really grateful for that ARPA funding that you allocated, and trying to work on how we address this, because inflation has just made a notable impact on programs like Battle of the Bands, programs like our arts education, whether it's art supplies or teaching wages or sound production costs. All of those things have really increased in costs. And as I mentioned, everybody seems to want more arts opportunities. We're getting a lot of discussion around and inquiry around, do we have rehearsal space? Where can they find rehearsal space? Or what classes do we offer? And a lot of interest in expanding our programming. With Battle of the Bands, that just shows you the 10 bands who participated this year. So 10 bands were selected. The number of bands that applied was up about 30% this year. The feedback from the bands is really strong about how it impacts their career. This year's Battle of the Bands cost Shore Lake Arts more than $25,000 to produce, including the staff costs. And we are really grateful to the $6,000 of the city support that was allocated towards this. It makes a really big difference. In addition, as I mentioned, Corey was really a phenomenal partner, and we couldn't do it without the city and also the city's parks and maintenance folks who made setting up the park possible. For us, some of the challenges really are around funding. We are facing with our ticket, most of our events are free, but some like Battle of the Bands and Short Film Festival and 6x6 bear a ticket price. And just like most of the other organizations that present arts in King County, we're seeing a real drop in the ticket sales. Ours are not quite as steep. We go from 40 to 110% of the 2019 or 2021 numbers, depending which program we're talking about. But overall, we are seeing a drop in the number of tickets sold, although ticket prices have remained pretty much unchanged. As I said, the production costs have gone up. And then the space for the education programs remains a real challenge for us. We don't yet have the scale to make them fully self-sustaining programs because we're searching for space. And the fact that some of the other funding that we rely on remains a little bit in flux or a little less predictable than it's been, has been a challenge for us this year. In an effort to address the space issue, many of you know that we embarked last year on a program with ArtSpace, which is the country's foremost developer of sustainable arts and artist housing buildings across the nation. They have projects, I think, in 38 states, 4 of whom are right in the King and Snohomish County area. The Shack in Everett, and then 3 projects in Seattle. We did a preliminary feasibility study with them last year that found a strong interest and need for both an art center in North King County and affordable artist housing. We are prepared to go through with the next step. We have secured, which is a market study, 25,000 of the 35,000 we need, and we are working to secure that last 5,000. We have added new board members. We have had most of our staff turnover in the past year, and except for the folks in the gallery, everyone has turned over within the past 24 months. So those are some of the challenges we also are addressing. But at the same time, we're really proud of the work we've done. We're really delighted to have done it in partnership with Lake Forest Park. And we're really excited by some of the new energy and opportunity that's coming out via the youth art programming, via the growth of programs like Battle of the Bands and the Lantern Festival. And we're looking forward to continuing to work with our city partners as we adjust to the ever-changing landscape. And this is our board and staff. And we say a big thank you. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you very much, Quinn. I hope the fireworks in the background weren't too noisy for you there. Colleagues, questions for Quinn? Councilmember Bodie.
Thank you, Quinn. It was a great presentation, and the variety of programs that you're providing is really awesome. Once again, I was aware of a large percentage, but not all of them. So I'm very impressed. And I want to do a shout out, especially for the gallery shop, since my daughter and I buy every time we need a gift for someone, we walk over to the gallery shop and look for something.
Thank you.
And we've always found our gift there. So just wanted to let you know, plus a little bit from the chocolate man, I have to add. So anyway, thank you so much for all you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And we're delighted. And we do have some programs with the gallery, like we had collages on World Collage Day. We have free zines, and those are all led by artists who show in the gallery. So if you happen to see one of those come across in your email or whatnot, they're very fun, and we invite you to join. They're all free.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Colleagues, anyone? Well, great. Thank you so much, Quinn, for all you do. We sure appreciate it. And my 6-year-old is a budding artist. And so I know that coming up next year, we were a little late to try to sign up for some camps, which we did try. She'll probably be joining your art camps next summer, because she is an absolute passionate painter and drawer. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for all you do, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you. And you as well. And oh my gosh, you guys, I have the utmost respect for the amount that you do and the amount of information you retain and process at each and every one of these meetings. That's a lot of information.
You're very kind. Thanks again. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, everybody. Let's see here. We are on to, and that was the end of our community partners, correct, Corey? Okay, thank you. I'm making sure. I don't have, oh, here, the mayor did leave list. Wonderful. Great program. Thanks so much. With that, we're on to citizen comments, and we don't have anybody for citizen comments. Matt, do we have anybody online that's like to make
If you want to
comments?
just address the council, please use the raise hand function.
And as a general reminder, you have 3 minutes to make comment to the council. If you have a specific concern, staff can take a note of it. Please make sure you remain civil and respectful. Thank you. Matt, we have anybody? Okay, I'm gonna at this time close public comment. And we're moving on to the consent calendar. I'd entertain a motion for adoption of the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar, please.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. And Councilmember Riddle had to leave. Her back is hurting her, her neck is hurting her very, very seriously. So she needs to go lie down. We wish her all the best. And we are on to ordinances and resolutions for action. Resolution 1853, authorizing the mayor to sign a professional services agreement with the Watershed Company to conduct a tree inventory. Director Bennett, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So on page 65 of your packet, you have the beginnings of this agenda item, which includes this resolution that was just referred to approve a contract for the tree inventory for 2022. This inventory is going to be similar to the one that was done in 2010 and 2011, which is an eye tree or a review of existing sites that had been visited in 2010 to look at what has happened at the trees on those sites. So it was a randomized survey and generally is known as an eye tree survey. The last inventory in 2016 was a LIDAR or aerial based survey. So this is the tree board's recommendation that we use this approach. And so Councilmember Golden, myself, and tree board member and our city arborist worked on a selection committee to get to the point of recommending the Watershed Company for this contract. And we will Watershed is going to use their own people to do the field work because we are kind of running out of time with leaves on the trees. So that's added a little bit of cost to the survey over what was projected earlier this year when we thought we might use interns and possibly volunteers. But we do have a grant to support this, a $14,000 grant that will kind of subsidize that additional cost. So, and we have in the planning department of professional services, we have enough, I think, for this year's costs related to the work. And then the tree fund has $61,000 in it, which can cover costs next year. So if there, I'd be happy to entertain any questions. Drew Foster with the Watershed Company was with us for a while, but he may still be there. We need to promote him to a panelist, but I'd like to try and attempt to answer your questions if you have any.
Thank you, Director Bennett. Anyone have any questions for Steve? Yes, please.
Director Bennett, a question for you. Did I hear you say, and I'm sorry if I didn't pick this up from the materials, that this is going to be a LIDAR based approach? Is that what you
No,
indicated?
I was just saying
wasn't
this is
clear.
distinct from the one that was done in 2016 where that was a LIDAR based.
Oh,
This is
okay.
going back to the methodology used in 2010 and 2011 by the previous arborist, Mike Woodbury. And then go back and look at those very same sites that he looked at and see what happens with the trees that were there on those sites.
Okay. So he's going to look at the very same sites that were looked at then. So if we have citizens who may have commented to us that they volunteer their property for the tree inventory, that's not necessary. Is that correct?
Well, it would be good to know because we have to get in touch with about 110 property owners if we're going to get the full set of surveys. So there's going to be a discussion, I think, initially, if this is approved by the council. If we don't get permission from all those property owners, do we extend it to other properties? And does that have to be randomized or not? But So that's really the
I will
first step.
pass on that,
Okay,
that
so-
volunteer's
so-
name.
Yeah, so you hear.
Thank you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yes, Councilmember Furutani.
Thank you, Director Bennett, for the presentation. And just wondering, just about the funding, since it was going to cost more than had been initially budgeted for, is that going to cause an issue with your department's budget?
No, I don't think so. As I was saying, that we're making adjustments with the year-end budget to make sure there's enough, and my professional services budget for that. And then as a backstop, we do have a fair amount in the tree fund to cover any work that needs to be done next year. And so the grant also helps with that, which will be like a 50% match. We're going to use it all for the consulting work. So I think we're in good shape.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Furutani. Vice Chair Cassover.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Mr. Bennett, for explaining this all to us. One of the questions that I have about the trees in Lake Forest Park these days is the fact that we have a lot of aging trees. And I just went through a situation in my neighborhood where an aging and not very healthy big leaf maple fell and took out power and all the other utilities that are along the street. And I worry that we as a community need to face up to the fact that we have a lot of big leaf maples that are aging out. So I'm kind of curious if you think this particular project will identify, the age of trees and the health of trees. I mean, is that part of what we're looking at, as well as just the canopy of coverage?
Yes, that is one of the main benefits of going back and doing this type of study of these individual plots that are about 1/10 of an acre each. And looking at those trees and finding out, are they still there? And so I think, big leaf maples are from what I picked up from our arborists, so, they can be kind of dangerous when they get old. And so, the whole point of this is to give the council some information it might use to do something more additional changes to the city's regulations. And so, you might create an incentive for people to remove big leaf maples that are getting to that age based on this. And obviously want some experts to weigh in on that. But yeah, we will find out a lot more about the age of species and the health of those that are in the plots that we're able to go back on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Colleagues, any other questions for Mr. Bennett? Steve, I understand that you're looking for action on this tonight.
Yes, that would be great.
Colleagues, I'd entertain a motion to suspend our rules.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to suspend our rules. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. The suspension of the rules passes unanimously. I'd entertain a motion for adoption of resolution 1853.
I'll be glad to move resolution 1853, authorizing the mayor to sign a professional services agreement with the Watershed Company to conduct a tree inventory.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve adoption of resolution 1853. Any discussion, colleagues? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Great. It passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Okay, now we're moving on to the speed round, shall we call it? Or lightning round, if you prefer, depending on what game show you were a fan of years ago. We have no council discussion or action. Is there any other business before we go on to Councilmember reports? Okay. Does anyone have a council member report that they'd like to give in 3 seconds or less?
Hasn't everything been canceled or postponed?
Okay.
In August, that's been my experience.
Fair enough, fair enough, yes. And the mayor can provide his report when he returns at the next meeting, if he has anything additional to add. City administrators report. Mr. Hill, do you have anything you'd like to share with us? Additional? Nothing. Okay.
I would note as usual, there's been a tremendous amount of police activity or activity requiring our police department to respond, which is good to hear that the police department is responding, but disappointing that it's so consistent and serious. So.
Indeed. Thank you for that, council member. It's our department is working very, very hard for all the community right now. Goodness. With that, I just want to remind everybody, we do have a committee of the whole meeting on Monday at 6 o'clock. And I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. No executive session. Am I missing? No, it's just a placeholder on the agenda. Thank you for the reminder, though.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved in second. And all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Thanks. We're adjourned, everybody. Have a great evening.
Hmm.